A big Commander rule change is coming with the release of Core Set 2021, and I think it's a good change. It's a change that I think makes the format and the playing with your Commander feel more intuitive as well. That change is if your Commander dies, currently there's a replacement effect. So if there's a dies trigger or something and your Commander's going back to the command zone, it is not counted in those death triggers or whatever. With the rule change, it will now count in that death trigger. It will go to the graveyard and then can go to the command zone. Or if it's exiled, it can be exiled, count towards whatever exile effects are happening, and then go back to the command zone. You can put it in the command zone, which I think is a good move. It's just nice that commanders can now take advantage of this new ruling and do what intuitively feels like they're supposed to be doing. But, you know, of course, people also took advantage of this announcement before it happened, like insider traders. I don't know how we can ever stop this. It's so infuriating, but we're not going to get into that. What I want to talk about is the rest of the bracket that Morrow put out earlier this year, which is 16 ideas that he was just chewing on for Commander rule changes. Not that he has any bearing on what's happening, but it's just funny to me that the next ruling we saw changed in Commander was on that list. So maybe another change in the not so distant future will also come off that bracket. And I just want to put my opinions out there. I want to see where all you land on these topics of discussion. And if you want to challenge my perspective or my ideas, or just share a different perspective or something that I missed on the bracket that hasn't been discussed or that I didn't discuss, definitely going to be looking for that in the comments. So hope you all enjoy it. Thank you for being here. Let's get into it. Now, to start, I'm not going to run through all 16, well, I guess 15 if we take out the one that's already really been decided, but I'm not going to run through all of these in like a full debate fashion because that, like some of them just don't need that and that would just be far too long of a video. If you're asking me when a change is happening in Commander, if it makes sense or not, I'm going to lean or favor flavor-driven changes. Because to me, the format, the feeling of playing a Commander game, the discussing with friends about the format, building decks, all of that has been far more engaging and interesting to me when it's flavor-driven versus, oh, I can get away with this based on the rules. Now, I'm not trying to say that's how everyone approaches the format, but to me, that is where I'm going to lean and focus on in reviewing and I guess debating with myself all of these options that have been thrown out by Morrow. Now, to start with one of probably the most controversial rule changes that have been thrown out there and discussed on the interwebs is the change to the hybrid mana rules, where if you have a, let's say for More of the Spark, one of those Planeswalker cards like Ashiok that's blue and black, should you be able to play it in mono blue or mono black or off color, a deck that only matches one of the colors of those hybrid mana costs? And I would just adamantly say no. Some people may say, well, you can do it in other formats like Limited. You could play a blue-green deck and still play the Ashiok for More of the Spark because you don't have to worry about the black mana in it. But to me, Ashiok has never been mono blue or mono black. The abilities on the Ashiok card are found because there are blue and black in the mana cost. And I'm sure you could maybe dig through and find only blue or black cards that would match all the abilities on Ashiok. But to me, the card feels like it's a blue and black card. So to then be able to shoehorn it into, let's say, blue-green decks or even mono-blue, mono-black decks doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it adds anything to the format. It doesn't add anything to people's deck building creativity. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's definitely not on flavor. And just with how many cards are in the world of Magic, the only time I'd really see people trying to shoehorn these cards into their deck is because they do something really powerful that they cannot get from the color restrictions imposed by their commander, and that's why they want to work around it. And to stay consistent with that, with fetch lands, those are kind of a workaround right now because they use the word, not the name or the mana symbol. If they change that ruling to not just look at the mana symbol, but also the wording of the card, I'd totally be in favor of that. I think that makes sense. So to move on from this point, not a fan of the hybrid rule changes. I'd also be in favor of fetch land changes to stay consistent with that. Next is no max deck size, which, I mean, I don't really care about the deck size. I guess it would allow for the Yorion companion, which I guess it has more of a modern argument to it. If someone's like, I want to play some janky 300 card commander deck, I wouldn't say no to it as long as they can shuffle it fast enough and not sit there and have to mulligan 12 times before a game starts. That'd be my only argument for that. Then we have the Sol Ring ban. I don't care that it's in every deck. As someone who's played, I want to say a fair bit of Commander, I think I can count on one hand the times I've gone turn 1 or even turn 2 Sol Ring. Me and all the Sol Rings in all of my decks apparently are allergic to each other because every time I start a game, I am the least likely Soul Ring turn 1 player you'll ever find. So to me, you could ban it. It's not going to make any difference to me. I have it in most of my decks. I just don't have enough copies to put it in all my decks. It doesn't make any difference to me. Soul Ring ban or not, whatever. But if you're going to ban Soul Ring, you have to ban stuff like Mana Crypt as well. Or maybe start with Mana Crypt. Moving on. Next up is probably one of, if not the most obscure things to talk about, and that is the non-creature legendaries or non-legendary creatures being allowed to be your commander. Usually when people have brought this up, it's because of Planeswalkers. We'll get to that in a second. But generally speaking, this just feels like something you're going to do with your casual play group anyway, but for it to be in the official rules, I don't think makes sense, because I guess from a flavor perspective, I don't know how an artifact or an enchantment or a land is going to lead me into battle, and I would love to hear that pep talk of the artifact. Everyone just like staring at it intently, waiting to be motivated to go fight to the death, and then it just sits there. Inspiring. There's definitely some merit and I could see some frustration by not being able to use a creature that you really want to play as your commander for nostalgia or whatever reason. I get that. Hopefully we can just get Wizards to print a legendary creature with that ability and not have to just only play it in our casual circles. Yeah, I'm clearly not super passionate about this one, but just feels off to me to say you could have any creature or any legendary anything be your commander. Maybe we can give our creatures pep talks to help them go back to Wizards and show them, give me a legendary version of myself or of this ability, because I'm ready. I'm ready to lead the troops into battle. But until that day comes, I'd probably say no. Now, the most, I'll say, frustrating, or I don't want to be mean about it, but the idea that we would ever get rid of commander damage is insane to me, because it is the most flavorful thing about the format. The idea that my commander, if he hits you enough, there is no recovering from it. Doesn't matter how much life you have or whatever, you're just done. And I think part of it has come because there's been so many games, not that someone's won with commander damage, but they've taken out a problem player with surprise commander damage. And I'd be kind of bummed to just lose that entire strategy simply because the data doesn't support it. What a ridiculous idea to say, there's not enough commander players shooting for this strategy, so we're just going to remove it altogether. How does it make it? I don't understand how that makes any sense. I think it's a complete waste of time and analysis to say, well, if only 1 in 100 games, 1 in 1,000 games is decided by commander damage, might as well get rid of it. I enjoy people that come up with awesome Voltron strategies. I enjoy trying to find unique ways to get that commander damage in. And if nothing else, it's just that surprise factor. It's something that keeps every game a little different, where if you can come up with some way to get your commander in and do that killing blow, whatever, keeps it spicy. Clearly, I'm a bit more passionate about this one, but I would be adamantly opposed to removing commander damage as a win con or a knockout con, because it's too flavorful to me to have I've yet to hear any justifiable reason to remove it. That kind of leads us into the next one, which is poison damage, which is, as far as I know in Commander, still 10. And I could see this one probably changing just to be a bit more on flavor. Having a bigger, stronger commander, creature, whatever, requires more poison. But I could also see why it doesn't, because it's just that lethal once you get that amount of poison in the system. I don't really have a strong opinion because my group doesn't play much Infect or have much Infect in our decks. So either way, I'd probably, if I had to choose though, I would probably lean towards upping the amount to 20, just because that seems to make more sense, seems to be more intuitive than keeping it at 10. Next is Return the Tuck rule, which is like your commander could get tucked into your library. It had something to do with just certain cards that their workaround for your powerful commander was to tuck it into your library to help get rid of it. But now that it can go to the command zone, it's kind of gotten rid of that. It's a rule before my time of playing Commander, and I don't think it would help the format bringing it back. It doesn't make sense to me. Moving on. Wishboards. I guess to like standardize them, our playgroup plays with them. Everyone just has like a little thing of Wishboard cards next to their decks that need them. It's fine. Whatever everyone wants to do, I'm not going to be upset one way or the other on Wishboards. Changing the Mulligan rule. I don't even know what the Mulligan rule is. As far as I know, it's the London Mulligan, but our playgroup just doesn't do that. We want to make sure that everyone's playing at the table and getting a chance to play the game. So usually if you draw and you only have 1 land or no land, we just say throw it on the bottom or just, shuffle it into the middle of your deck, draw 7 new. If that works for you, great. You could do it 2-3 times, whatever. Just find a decent starting hand, not an optimal hand, but a decent starting hand so that you're engaged in the game to start and hopefully not just sitting there for 30 minutes because you can't find a land and you get picked off. Next one is no change. Interesting. I don't even know how to start Another point, 4th player advantage. Another one that is a head scratcher for me. Like, have you ever thought about just rolling better? Right? That'd help you be a better Magic player, help you be a luckier person in life. That's what you should be working on, not the rules. I'm kidding. I don't know what to. If anyone has a good idea for a 4th player advantage, let me know, because then all of a sudden I'm gonna be rooting to be the 4th player. Then we need to come up with something for the 3rd player, because they're really the ones who are shortchanged in this all. I want to know who was so salty about going 4th, like for an entire day of Commander, that they're like, this needs to change, because I'm just an unlucky individual. Not a fan of trying to come up with some change for that. Moving on, life total change. I don't know. I think 40 is a good life total. It's felt balanced in most of our games. To me, it's never felt like a problem. I've never felt like there's not enough options that I can work around and build up a good aggro strategy or build whatever strategy I want in Command. I mean, there's so many cards. There's so many cards. How you can find a way to build around whatever you're building. And when you have 100 singleton deck, it's going to be hard to consistently do anything anyway. I would imagine, unless you're on that CEDH expensive deck game plan. Yeah, I don't think the life total change would be anywhere near the top of my list of things to change or would be an improvement to the format. Then we got Planeswalkers as Commanders, and I think they should be able to. The fact that it was initially said as no, and then Wizard says, not interested, we've printed commanders that can be, or Planeswalkers that can be your commander, to me, like, is super frustrating that Wizards did that. But it should still be a community-driven initiative. If the community is saying, hey, look, we really like Planeswalker cards, I could absolutely see us being led into battle by a Planeswalker, since they're the most powerful beings and such anyway in the Magic multiverse. I don't know why we could only let a creature do it and not a Planeswalker. My only frustration, I guess, with Planeswalkers, especially those printed by Wizards, is they slow the game down, which can be kind of frustrating because now you're having to focus on 2 things. I just really don't like the idea that the community said this is our standard for the format, our ruling, and then Wizards said, oh, we're just going to come up with these cool things that are meant for Commander, that are tuned or balanced for Commander. That's kind of laughable to me. If the community is saying we want Planeswalkers as Commanders, I'd be totally fine with it. We had a guy in our group, Chance, who ran the new Calyx as his commander, and it was fine. No one had any problems with it. For some reason, even though it wasn't designed or balanced for commander, it still worked out and was plenty fun to play against, except I won't go too far down that road. But point is, I'd be fine with it, and I think it should be a community-driven thing and not something that we just let Wizards dictate exceptions to. The next one is one that I'd probably be the most in favor of, or generally in favor of, commander partner tax. Like, I don't know what the general mainstream opinion is on this, but to me, it would make sense to, every time a commander leaves your command zone, 2 colorless added to it. So if you only play with 1, no change there. But if you start playing with partners, each partner is going to cost a little bit more. I could see a justification as to why you don't get to essentially play 2 cards where there's only meant to be 1, and you do have to pay some type of tax to get access to that second one, because that commander, that partner, is also giving you access, I'm imagining, to other colors or super strong abilities and consistency in your deck. So I think there should be a tax on that. And then last but not least is allowing silver bordered cards. And again, in our playgroup, we've let it happen. Like Summon the Pack, my favorite card. Anything that says open a pack and then put stuff on the battlefield, I'm 100% in favor of. We have someone who, Bruce in our playgroup, he plays what he calls the Salt Mine deck, and he has X as his commander. And I just want everyone to know that he has put it in my hand 3 out of 3 games that he's played that deck. It's been fantastic. But it's just something that's fun. Like, if your playgroup's fine with it, I think you're probably already doing it. It would make sense to me from a perspective of adding more playability to those silver bordered cards. You're probably drafting those cards and then you never use them again. They just sit in a box forever. So to give them some more playability, I think would be fun. I guess, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it more, I'd probably just say, why not? If you can convince me like we shouldn't do it and here's why, I'm with you. But right now I'd probably lean a little bit towards allowing them over not allowing them. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Those are my ramblings about the other 15 commander changes that Maro brought up. And I just like to know your thoughts. What are y'all thinking? Are you interested in any of these hopefully happening in the near future? Let me know down in the comments. Also, if you want to pick up some Commander 2020 precons, the Ikoria precons, Card Kingdom just got a big shipment of them. Check them out. There's an affiliate link in the description. You can pick them up there. Just let them know I sent you. That's all I'm hoping for. Be much appreciated though. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for watching. Thank you to my patrons who help make all this content possible. I cannot thank you all enough. Really means the world to me. Thank you all so much. But that's going to do it for me. Hope to see you in the comments. Hope to see you in the next video. We'll see you. Peace.